Good morning students. We are starting environmental application for standard 9th, chapter 1, basic ecology. In this we'll be studying what is environment. Now if you take a animal in the forest like an elephant, the whole thing what is around it, the other organisms, microorganisms, the plants, the abiotic factors like air, water, soil, anything background, the trees or the soil or the land is its environment. If you take a earthworm, the same environment of the in the forest will be the environment for the earthworm too. Now in the aquatic environment for a fish, it will be water, the sunlight reaching the water, penetrating deep inside the different zones of water. It will be its environment. So environment is actually anything that surrounds us physically, which we can see things around us, chemically, or whether there is pollution here or not, that also will be affecting the environment of the organism, biologically or socially. So environment we can say environment is anything that surrounds us physically, chemically, biologically or socially will be called our environment. Now in the environment there will be different ecosystems. So the ecosystems will be shared by many animals together. For example, it is a naturally occurring collection of organisms. How we go for an assembly in the school, like all go together, but there will be class 5, class 6, class 7, there will be different communities. All together it is a whole community, and in that there will be like different ecosystems, and further they will be divided into more other categories. So along with the environment, the ecosystem is a collection of organisms along with what is around them together forms the ecosystem. For example, like abiotic factors and biotic factors together forms an ecosystem. Okay, so there are different types of ecosystems, like there will be terrestrial ecosystems. Terrestrial ecosystems will be forest ecosystem, grassland, desert, etc. There will be aquatic ecosystems like ocean, sea, river, pond, lake, all these will be aquatic ecosystems. And there will be some man-made or like artificial ecosystems. Man-made or artificial, like when we grow plants in the garden or a farmer growing crops, sowing seeds, that becomes into a seedling and plants after some days. That becomes artificial ecosystems where man is involved. For example, also aquarium or a cropland or a garden, etc. Now there are some features of the ecosystem. Ecosystem has its own ways. For example, it includes all the abiotic factors around it, like rock, soil, whatever rock, soil, the background salinity of water, all will be features of that ecosystem, particular ecosystem. It has its own characteristics, like climate of a desert will be different from climate of the ocean or a grassland. The soil type will be different of a forest or a grassland, so they will have their own climate, soil, etc. Plants and animals will be different in different ecosystems. For example, a polar bear will be in a cooler climate, cooler ecosystem. We cannot bring it and keep it here in this ecosystem of or a grassland or a forest. It will be always raining ice around it, a cooler environment around it. And then there are various habitats in the ecosystem, like a forest may be an ecosystem one ecosystem, but earthworm will have a small habitat in the soil. A rabbit may be in a burrow. A small another bee or a insect will be on the leaves, or another animal may be only on the bark of the tree. The elephant will be in the wild area, bigger area. So there are different habitats among the ecosystems. Now ecosystem is an open unit, flexible to the changes what happens every day. If there is rain, it will the water will be there for some time, it will percolate and go. So water will drain out from it, sunlight will come in, back. So all this, there is a cycle going on in the ecosystem all the time, and nutrients will come and go. There will be more animals born, some animals dying. So all these make up features of the ecosystem. Now coming to the causes of ecosystem destruction. What is ecosystem? I have told you it's the animal and the environment around. So when there is ecosystem destruction, there is a lot of damage caused to the environment as well as the animal or the plant. So the first cause, we are doing causes of ecosystem destruction. First one is deforestation, or it's also called felling of trees. So for various purposes, settlements, construction of dams, etc., we are needing more and more land for agriculture, for settlement, construction of dams, rivers, areas of forests are being cut down for construction of roads, railways, etc. So when this is done, we are just destroying the whole ecosystem or habitat. So this is the first cause of destruction of ecosystem. The second one is improper land use. Sometimes a land is fit and fertile for agriculture, but because of our greed, or we need more space for human settlement, we are just using this land. Instead of growing crops there, we are using it for other things, for health centers, to build hospitals, football ground. So what happens is, this land would have given good productivity of crops. That doesn't happen. It is used in some wrong way. So this is improper land use. Some fertile land is used this way, and some infertile land may be used for agriculture, and the farmer may need to put more fertilizers and pesticides there because it is infertile. So this is called improper land use. The third is construction of establishments like houses or industries, big manufacturing units. Like you must be knowing about the whole industrial area in Verna. So it would have been a good forest, but because of industries there, it's fully covered with industries. Lot of animals would have stayed there. It was a habitat for many animals and birds, but it is not now. So construction of establishments is another cause. Now we cannot stop development. Development and environment has to go hand in hand. So here what is happening, the ecosystems are destroyed because we are not taking proper steps for eco-friendly development. So there is a lot of construction of pharmaceuticals, houses, industries, etc. Then there is agricultural practices. Full food comes from soil. We owe to the farmers a lot, because without agriculture we would have not survived. But when we say agricultural practices, it is wrong practices. For example, like zooming or slash and burn cultivation. In that, what is done is the place after the harvest is burnt and it has to be left for 2 seasons without growing again crops. But because of our time constraint and we need more and more crops, it is being used again for growing in the next season. So we are not giving the soil time to replenish itself, and that is why it is a wrong practice. There are many other wrong practices which are done in agriculture, like even using pesticides, chemical pesticides, fertilizers again and again makes the soil cannot be used after some days. Then the next is illegal mining. When mining is done, it's same like deforestation. We are cutting out soil, over exhausting the resource soil. So a lot of soil is being used. When mining was going on, a place is has to be, again there should be afforestation or reforestation, but that is not happening. So there are loss of the habitat to the ecosystem, and mining is happening in one place, but it is when that ore is carried from one place to another, the whole ecosystem and around it there is all of plants which are suffering because there is powder of this ore falling on their leaves, their stomata are closed, they cannot, transpiration cannot take place, etc. Then the next is urbanization. This construction of establishments, industries and urbanizations go together. For this also there is a lot of space required. Urbanization is just when everything is available in the village, all the things like the cities have come to a place like a village, then it is urbanization. So they do not have to go to a far off place like Margao and Panjim to buy things. When everything is available, all infrastructure is done in a village, it's like urbanization. It's called urbanization. So urbanization is also requiring land. So a lot of forests are being cut, a lot of wetland has been used by reclamation, part of the sea is being reclamation is done, part of the sea. Bombay, a lot of reclaimed land is used for settlements. Then we have overgrazing. As the population increases, there are more farmers, more people who have livestock, so the livestock also increases, and when there is overgrazing, sometimes they eat the root itself, and there is a lot of hooves moving on the sand or soil. The soil loses its water holding capacity because when the hooves are there on the soil, they are making the soil compact like this. So it's like the air space is not there, the water space, the space for water is not there. So overgrazing is also a cause of ecosystem destruction. Then we have pollution. Pollution in all ways, like air, water, soil. There are different types of pollution. From the agricultural waste is coming to the soil. There is a lot of magnification taking place because of the fertilizers and pollutants like DDT or some chemicals which are used in the field, or some industries are leaving them in the air, water, soil. So all this pollution also causes a lot of harm to the animals and plants in an ecosystem. And the last is overhunting. When hunting is done for some ivory products or killing of the animals for their skin, etc., there is overhunting taking place, and that is one more cause of ecosystem destruction. So now we are going to learn about the different factors in the ecosystem. These are called components of the ecosystem. What make up the ecosystem? One thing is there are non-living things and the living things. So we have two types of components. One is abiotic. Abiotic is non-living and one is biotic. Under abiotic we have the non-living components which are include the organic and the inorganic components of the body, like the carbohydrates, fats, etc., and also sulfur, all the minerals. So they form the organic and inorganic abiotic components. Then second we have adipic. These form the part of the body and the outside surroundings, the minerals and all in the soil. Then second is adipic. Adipic factors components are related to soil, rocks, sand, etc., like the mountains or all the elevations, the seabed, the shallow water or deep water, all related to rocks and soil is called adipic factors. Then we have the third one, that is the atmospheric or the climatic factors. Atmospheric or the climatic factors include the rain or the sunlight, the temperature of the place. All these will be the atmospheric or climatic factors. On the other hand, what affects the organism is the biotic factors, biotic components. They are, first is producers. Producers are all the green plants on the earth which can produce their own food. Then they are also called autotrophs, or because they make their own food, or they are also called transducers because they are the only plants or only organisms on earth which can trap the solar energy and can change it into other forms. No other animal or other non-green plants cannot do it. The second one is the consumers. These are all living. The consumers are again divided into three categories. The first one is the heterotroph. These are all called heterotrophs because they cannot make their own food. They are primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. We can always say these are the ones which are eating the producers. These are secondary consumers will be eating the primary consumers, and the tertiary consumers are higher animals like the bigger carnivores which will be eating the smaller carnivores and the herbivores. So these cannot make their own food. All of them will have an important role to play in the ecosystem. And the third one is the decomposers. The third biotic factor in the ecosystem is decomposers. They are all bacteria and fungi. So what they do is they play a very important role in the ecosystem by converting the complex things in the body of the animal when it dies, or the plant when it dies. It changes it into simple forms and release it into air, water and soil. So all these abiotic factors and biotic factors, each one of them play a very important role in the organism's life. Either it is plant or animal, they will depend on all these factors in the ecosystem. So if we take an example of a fish, freshwater fish, or a fish in a marine water, even salinity will be a abiotic factor which will affect its life. When you take an example of the chameleon, even the background of the tree or where it goes, on the leaves or soil, it will change the color according to its where it is. So even the background will be a biotic factor in the chameleon's environment. So each one is important, and in a food chain what happens is a producer is always eaten by a consumer, primary, secondary and tertiary, and decomposers will act on both of them, either the plant or the animal, when it dies. Decomposers you cannot write in a food chain at the end of the food chain, that is wrong. I'll give you an example. So in an ecosystem, this plant, small insect, frog, snake and hawk all will be depending on the environment around them, and they'll be eating each small insect will be eating the plant, it will be eaten by the frog will be again in turn eaten by the snake and the hawk. Now if the plant dies, it will be decomposed by the bacteria and fungi. Now if the frog dies, again the decomposers will act on its body, or the hawk dies, it will act on its body. So we cannot write decomposers here at the end, we cannot write it here. So just the role of decomposers is to decompose any plant or animal which dies and convert its complex minerals in the body or compounds in the body into simple forms and release it into air, water and soil. Next class we will be doing the continuation of this. So till now this, thank you.